What up, guys? It's Steve Marquez with the Prime Sports crew. We got Tony and we got Pete. Blake wasn't available today, so he's not going to be joining us. But we're going to go ahead and dive right into our biggest news of the week. We hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving and spent their time with their family and their friends, and they got to watch some football. And that kind of starts with, John Madden always said that football doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. And I think we kind of saw some key matchups this week, and then some key matchups we're going to end up seeing this next coming week. But as far as this week went, we had Mike White was announced the starter for the Jets. Obviously, Zach Wilson was benched after he's clearly lost the locker room. He hasn't been playing well, and the Jets have a really good run game and defense, so the passing game has been lacking. So Mike White comes out and starts and throws for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. I mean, this team looked motivated. They looked fun. Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson both looked like stud receivers because they were finally able to get the ball in their hands and utilize the tools in their skill set to put on a show. And they came out and they won. And they won pretty easily. They looked really good. What do you guys think about Mike White and the Jets?
I'm excited for him, bro. I mean, the fact that he can come into a team that was, you can say, so broken and falling apart, but still had the record to come into a team that is possibly still making the playoffs and a play like that, I think it's exciting for him. And we know how good Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson can be whenever Zach Wilson isn't the quarterback. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see Mike White keep going. I mean, he's done things that Zach Wilson can't even dream of doing. So it sucks they don't have Breece Hall, though. I mean, I can't imagine that offense with Mike White and Breece Hall back there.
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch. Tony, how do you feel about Mike White?
I think that I agree with something that Colin Cowherd said. Is that results matter more than, or no, wait, that wasn't Colin Cowherd. That was Richard Sherman. I'm sorry, Richard Sherman, if you ever hear this shit, my bad. But he said results matter more than he said results matter more than potential. And he said that Mike White should be the starter because he's produced results. Zach Wilson and all of his potential can sit on the bench. And Mike White has been a serviceable starter. He did have another big game coming in last year, I believe it was. But he was also mediocre from then on. So I'd like to see some more continued success from Mike White. But, he's definitely clearly the better quarterback, and he has the locker room. Elijah Moore was demanding a trade, so I think he's a little bit happier with the amount of targets and, looks he's getting his way with Mike White as opposed to Zach Wilson. I think that means a lot to the Jets.
Yeah, no, he looked good, and I think he kind of gave a lot of Jets fans a little bit of hope. And we're going to dive into their matchup against your Vikings a little bit later. But it seems like quarterbacks are kind of headlining our biggest news of the week. Pete, finally coming back from suspension after a very long offseason, Deshaun Watson is going to make his return against his former team, the Houston Texans. And he goes under center for the Cleveland Browns, who just came off a big overtime win against the Bucks in a somewhat competitive AFC North. What do you make of Deshaun Watson's return, and what do you think the response is going to be from fans as soon as he steps onto that field?
Bro, I think a lot of people are going to be mad that he's coming back into the NFL and he's going to be a starter and he's going to play a football game. But when it comes to his play on the field, and he's been out 700 plus days since he's played an NFL snap. But I'm excited to see him, bro. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, obviously he's not a Deshaun Watson. He's been decent while he's covering for Deshaun Watson. But look at Deshaun Watson and who he was with last time. Look at the Texans roster that he had. I mean, he has a better starting running back. He has a better tight end. Yeah, better two starting running backs, a better tight end. He has Amari Cooper, which is probably his best wide receiver one he's had. And you got his rushing ability. I'm super excited to see Deshaun Watson come out and see what he can do. One thing I am a little nervous about is I've seen some practice clips of him throwing with his receivers this week, and he throws the ball too hard for them. There was a couple of videos where there was multiple drops in a row. They're not used to that zip on the ball because I guess Jacoby Brissett just don't have the power behind it. But man, I'm excited to see him, bro. I mean, that I've been talking to a couple people all year about the Browns being super competitive. I mean, they got beat pretty handily 2 times this year, and I want to say that's it. Every other game was a 1-score game or less.
Yeah.
So I think when they have that Deshaun Watson back there, once he gets the rust out, hopefully it don't take too long, or hopefully he just comes out firing on all cylinders. We'll see how what his sense of urgency is. Hopefully he doesn't make any mistakes. But overall, bro, I'm excited for it.
He has a big game?
I mean, I can't go against him because I've seen what he's done on the field. I think and the fact that it's against the Texans, the worst team in the league, I think he comes out there and has a big game after maybe a rough first couple drives.
Yeah. Tony, how do you feel about Deshaun's return?
Man, I just got to get one thing off my chest. Pete, how could you forget about D-Hop, bro? You said Amari Cooper might be the best receiver he's had, bro. He had prime D-Hop.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot he had D-Hop over there.
I know. It's because they traded him for fucking peanuts. And then that's when the team got bad. It's crazy how that works. But, I mean, I don't know. I think he's going to come out looking rusty. 700-plus days of no football. Granted, he has been practicing. He has been working out. He has been staying in shape. But, you know, they say there's a difference between in shape and in game shape, so we'll see how he does. But the Texans are pretty bad. I could see this being a little bit of a big overreaction game and that the Texans pull out and win. They're motivated and emotional. Deshaun Watson's rusty. Maybe they sneak a win from this Cleveland team that has a lot of high hopes. But with their current positioning in the AFC right now, they have to win a lot of games in a row. So hopefully that the rush streak with Deshaun Watson doesn't last too long. And, you know, if they're going to have a chance at, you know, scrapping together this season where they're without their now franchise quarterback for most of the year, hopefully they can pull it together at the end there.
What other receivers does he have over there besides Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper? Is it the best wide receiver core he's had? Minus, obviously, he doesn't have D-Hop, but
I don't know.
From tight end to wide receivers, I mean, look at the plays that Njoku made last week.
Between those three, probably.
And the running back, I mean, he's got Nick Chubb in the backfield, so.
No, yeah, I mean, it's obviously the best offense he's ever had, for sure, like, as a whole.
I feel like I need to see how they all work
together. He doesn't have to do a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he should take it easy. Hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, do some play action passes. Nothing crazy.
That's not what people want to see against the Texans, though, bro. They want to see him go out there and sling that motherfucker.
I think the Texans are going to have a lot of fans this weekend, though. For sure, a lot of people are going to be rooting for Houston to pull this one out. Another quarterback touching, headlining biggest news is Jordan Love. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has been dealing with some injuries, most notably, most recently, his ribs. I believe his x-rays came back good. I don't think he's going to miss any serious time. And I don't think he has any intention of missing any time. But the little bit of action that we did see from Jordan Love from this past game, what did you guys make of it? And do you think it's kind of time to give Jordan Love his chance? Personally, I haven't been a big fan of him. I think he could be a decent quarterback, but I don't have a lot of I wouldn't put money that he's going to be a star. But what do you guys think of Jordan Love?
Well, I think that I think that the potential for him to be the starting quarterback in Green Bay is there. I mean, when you look what he did at just a little over a quarter of football, 6 of 9 passing, 113 yards, that big touchdown toss to Chris Watson. And I feel like if they would have given him the chance on 4th and goal to go get a touchdown instead of taking the 3, I know that they were going to try and kick the 3 and then get a stop on defense and then score a touchdown. But I feel like if they would have given him the green light to score a touchdown, he would have gotten them a second one. He finished with a 94.2 QBR, which is a lot better than Aaron Rodgers. I think he was in the mid-30s with his QBR. He threw for just over 130 in 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Rodgers hasn't been the answer for them. I don't think he's been necessarily the big problem. But I feel like this team needs to go in a different direction, and I think Jordan Love might be that direction. He did look poised. He looked like he'd been in the offense for a while, and I know you haven't really been a big fan of him, but I was a fan of his going into the draft that year. I feel like that there was a first-round quarterback talent that just needed some coaching up, was a bit of a prospect or a project, and I thought that he could be a starter in this league and a real good one too. And that one quarter, it's not nearly a big enough sample size to say that he's going to be this or that, but I feel like that 1 quarter sample size is just enough for me to say, give the kid a chance. I don't think Rodgers is coming back to Green Bay next season, so why not give Jordan Love some snaps, see how he works in the offense?
Yeah, Pete, what did you think of him?
Compared to what he looked like last year in the games that he did play, and what he looked like in the preseason, there were looked like 2 totally different quarterbacks. I mean, like Tony said, he's a lot more poised. He took control of the offense, and he was throwing some good balls, man. I mean, he had some zip behind that motherfucker when he was throwing it. And I mean, you've seen it with Aaron Jones on the sideline. It bounced right off of his chest because he wasn't expecting it to come that fast to him.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him use his legs a little bit more. But, I mean, the Packers, that was a big game to lose. They had to win that game for them to really have a chance in the playoff race. So with Rodgers battling a thumb injury, his rib injury, I don't see, maybe because they're paying him, $50 million this year, they want to keep playing him. They want to get what they can out of him before he leaves. But I don't see why you don't just put Jordan Love in there and, like you said, get us some snaps. I mean, if he is going to be your future starter, your future franchise quarterback, if he is going to have a little bit of that, I know he's not a rookie anymore, but if he's going to go out there and play, make some rookie mistakes, I mean, why not get that out of the way now and have him come into next year feeling good?
Yeah. No, I might not be the biggest fan of him, but he definitely played a lot better than I thought he would. If he did look pretty good, I'll give him that. And I agree. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I had the hot take that he should go to the 49ers next season. And we can touch on those kind of rumors and little hot takes later on in the off season. But yeah, I think that kind of ends that part of it. I wanted to kind of touch on the comebacks and the overtime thrillers from this past weekend because I felt like there was a lot of good games that came down to the wire. Pete, or actually Tony, go ahead and get us started off with the Chargers comeback win against Arizona and Justin Herbert's touchdown to Eckler and then the 2-point conversion to Gerald Everett to give them the win. Well, what'd you think of that? And I think the Chargers Justin Herbert has 4 comeback wins this year or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what I've seen too, 4 of them.
Sorry about that.
He's a social media quarterback though, I guess. But I think that you can't look at this final drive without looking at the 2 drives before it. That first attempt the Chargers had, I think they had about 6-7 minutes left on the clock to go and drive down and tie the game up. And the drive started with almost a near interception by Justin Herbert. They reviewed it, and it was ruled that it was incomplete. But then the drive does stall out. They have to punt it. And I think that this is where my main point about this Chargers comeback, it starts off with three important things here: special teams, defense, and coaching. Special teams pinned the Cardinals deep into their own territory. Those are great punts. The defense comes up with a sack and the stop to ice out the drive, and Brandon Staley finally woke up and managed the fucking clock. He was able to get Justin Herbert the ball back at the 2-minute warning, and the special teams comes up again. They had a nice punt return there, and they were able to set up Herbert with short field and, kind of handed him the comeback win right there, I would say. He did complete it. You do still have to go down there and get the ball to your playmakers. Gerald Everett and Austin Eckler were both really instrumental in that win as well. You could make the case for Eckler being Offensive Player of the Year. He has an absurd amount of touchdowns this year. And he's been the most
insane amount of receptions.
Most consistent receiving option on the Chargers all year. So I also think it was important that Herbert was able to get away from the pass rush and make some plays with his athleticism this drive. Sacks late in games have been a real problem for the Chargers, which have turned into interceptions and turnovers and those kind of things. Just, and then the gutsy call right there at the end to go for two. I know that Brandon Staley gets a lot of crap for going for it on fourth down and taking too many chances, and they call him analytics boy. But when it works, you look like the smartest man in the room, and when it doesn't work, you look like an idiot. So, but he made the call, and Justin Herbert made the right read, and that was all she wrote. A tough win for a struggling Chargers team, another deflating loss for a Cardinals team that is disappointing this year. And you really can't point to one injury or one big event that killed it for them. I just think that they've been bad this year. They have tools around them, so it's really disappointing to see how bad they've been. I think if the Chargers had a healthy O-line and a healthy defense, they would be, I think they'd be the 5th seed. I think they would be in contention, one of the better wild card teams. I don't think they'd be beating the Chiefs for the AFC West or anything, but I think if they could have had a lot more health, especially at their O-line has been really bad this year. I think they could be good, but other players on the team stepped up when it mattered, and it was an everybody effort for them that game.
Yeah, it was a big win, and especially with the playoff race starting to heat up, I think it was one that they really needed. And they're going to Vegas to face the Raiders this upcoming week. So it'll be interesting to see how they come in and see if they can string another win after that Arizona win. Pete, the Browns had an overtime win against Tom Brady and the Bucks.
Yeah. With
a crazy clutch catch by Njoku for the touchdown. One-handed. It was beautiful. Which kind of hurt the Bucks, who are trying to take control of the NFC South, who are trying to put a few wins together in a row, and they just can't seem to make it happen. What did you make of the Browns win, and what kind of position does that put them with Deshaun Watson coming back like we had just talked about?
Yeah, bro, that was a huge win for them. And it was a huge win for a couple NFC teams that want to make the playoffs and that needed the Bucs to lose because, everybody knows Tom Brady and what he's capable of. So to see Tom Brady lose a clutch game like that or a big game like that in the fourth quarter or over – I don't remember if it was overtime or not. I think it was overtime. But to see him lose a game like that to the Browns, it has to send mixed emotions to the Browns and their players. I mean, to come off a huge win like that, a comeback win, and how clutch some of the players were at the end of the game. I mean, Amari made some catches. Brissett was playing good.
Yeah.
I mean, the David Njoku catch, like it was an insane catch. It's a great catch. He couldn't have been more clutch. So I think it's kind of a problem for the Browns. I mean, you come off a win like that, and then you're going to change your starting quarterback. I mean, I know they gave Deshaun Watson $230 million. He's available to come back to play, but just imagine Deshaun Watson comes out there and he plays like shit. I mean, what are they going to think? Like, Jacoby Brissett's been competitive all year. Should we put him back? We know that's not going to happen, but what I took away most from the game was the way the Bucs played, bro. I mean, Chris Godwin got so much work in the first half, and it seems like I want to say he got 2-3 targets in the second half. It wasn't very many. They just stopped going to him. Mike Evans, I mean, he's going to do what he does. He didn't get many looks in the first half. Got a couple more in the second half. Not many catches, but he did draw some big pass interference calls. So, and I mean, the Bucs are getting healthier. I mean, they maybe have 2 or 3 injuries out right now, like big, like starter wise, some big injuries that could help them. I know they lost one of their linemen for, I think it said the season, which that's a big hit.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see the Browns play, bro. I mean, after that game, I just want to watch them because they're a competitive team, and I love seeing Tom Brady lose this late in the season. I know it's looking like we're going to play him first round. More than likely we are. And I'll take that matchup any day, but still it's Tom Brady at the end of the day. At least we ain't playing Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. No, I mean, you always want to try to avoid playing players like Brady and Rodgers in the playoffs. So for an opposing team, you definitely wouldn't want to see them in the playoffs. Another close game that we had that had playoff implications was the Washington Commanders were playing the Atlanta Falcons, who were also trying to overcome the Buccaneers for the NFC South divisional lead. It was a low-scoring game. Both offenses seemed to struggle a little bit to score, with the Commanders having a 19-13 lead late in the fourth quarter, and the Falcons actually driving down the field. Mariota looked good, and it looked like they were getting ready to score right before the ball gets tipped and intercepted to seal the win for the Commanders by Kendall Fuller, who also had a pick six, I believe, the week before against the Texans.
Yeah, it was like the first play of the game, something like that last week.
Yeah, something like that. So the Commanders win again. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs, and they were just playing extremely well behind Taylor Heineke and that defense. Chase Young couldn't play this game because of an illness, but he's supposed to make his debut this week, so they're finally going to get him back. What do we think about the Commanders, and do you think they can actually make the playoffs?
Man, I think it's possible, bro. I mean, look at the teams that they're around in the wild card race. I mean, since week 6, they're the hottest team in the league by record wise. I mean, obviously they're not going to go out there and put up 40 points a game or do anything crazy, but they're going out there and winning. I mean, and ultimately that's what matters to get you into the playoffs is wins.
Yeah.
Even though they're a rival in our division, bro, I love watching Taylor Heineke play. I mean, he puts it all out there on the field. He's just the type of young player that you'd want to lead your franchise. I mean, how many people would actually want Carson Wentz back there over Taylor Heineke? I don't think anybody would.
Nah.
So I mean, see Taylor Heineke come out there. Brian Robinson is starting to show up a lot more. He's getting a lot more active.
Yeah, he had
still got
105
Antonio
yards.
Gibson. I wish he would throw Terry McLaurin the ball a little bit more. I mean, nobody can really stop Terry McLaurin. I mean, he's number 1 in the league in contested catches since he came into the league. So I love watching Taylor Heineke play, bro.
Yeah.
And like I said, even though they're a rival, I just think it would be badass to see the whole NFC East take all them wild card spots and the number one seed. So that shit would be dope as hell to me. So I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, that'd be wild. They kind of have a weird schedule. They play the Giants this coming week, then they have a bye week, and then they play the Giants again. The NFC East seems to all be playing each other late at the end of the season here. What do you guys think about that schedule? And do you think, I mean, these 2 games for them is pretty much going to determine their season. If they can win both of those games, I think they're in. And then now the Giants are probably out for losing both those games.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. If they can beat the Giants both times, I don't know the statistics or if they can lock it in as a wild card. It's probably going to come down to the last game because all them teams are 1 game apart from each other. So, I mean, if they could beat the Giants both times, bro, I'd rather see the Commanders than the Giants. So it'd be dope as hell to see
the Giants
Commanders knock the Giants out.
I think the Giants play the Eagles in between the Commanders.
That's a rough.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I know we play the Eagles on the 24th, and I think there's one more game after that.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see, and it's always crazy because I feel like the moment you play a team a second time right after, it's completely different. One team just completely takes everything from the first game and runs away with it. So it's going to be interesting to see if one team adjusts and then they split 1-1, or one of the teams just finally like, nope, we're going to take this playoff spot and we're going to ruin it for the other team. I think that pretty much is going to wrap up our biggest news of the week. We have a couple other good close games that we'll talk about, like the Ravens and the Jaguars and the Raiders and the Seahawks. But we're going to take a break and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the game recaps and the previews.
Shots has Garrett Wilson, makes field goal miss, turns on the afterburners, he's gone, touchdown Jets, New York takes the lead.
Welcome back, everybody. Here we're getting ready to start with our game recaps. Tony, on Thanksgiving, your Minnesota Vikings faced the New England Patriots coming off a bad loss against the Cowboys the week before. You guys needed to bounce back, and you guys ended up putting up 33 on a good Patriots defense. So your offense kind of put those talks to, to an end, that you guys are okay. It was kind of a fluke game. What did you guys think about your performance, and do you think you can finish off the season strong?
Absolutely, I do. We exercised the demons. All right, we ate dry turkey, as is Midwest tradition. Adam Thielen was spitting it out. But what a game!
Balls.
What a game for the entire team. It was a really entertaining game from start to finish. I really think that if if there were any worries about this team being able to score the ball, I think we put those to rest because we scored when we need to. It was a back and forth game the whole game, start to finish. And Mac Jones had arguably his best game of the season. 382 yards, I believe, 2 touchdowns, 28 of 39 through the air. But despite how well he played, the Vikings,
you a little bit?
Well, it concerns me a little bit, but what I like to see is that there were multiple drives where, despite Mac Jones playing better than he should, we were able to hold him to 3. I think that's been the Vikings' MO all year, is just try and hold him to 3. Whenever we screw up on offense, Kirk had an early interception. We gave him the short field a couple of times. The D still managed to force field goals. So that's the saving grace on the defensive side. On the offensive side, I really love seeing Justin Jefferson continue to thrive. He broke Randy Moss's record. You got to be happy with how he's been this year. He's been everything and more for this offense. And if he didn't make such a crazy catch against the Bills, he had a crazy catch this game too. Double coverage, and he's coming down with it, getting smacked and just coming right back up. He's a tough player.
Yep.
I like to see Hawk get his first touchdown with the Vikings on the goal line there. That was clutch. Really love to see it. But back to some of the defensive woes here. The Patriots, some of their lesser known guys came to play. They had 5 players with over 60 yards receiving. I feel like all of the guys that were scapegoated into saying they have no weapons kind of showed some flashes this game. But, we had a lot of things go our way. We had the 97-yard kick return for a touchdown. Hunter Henry's second touchdown was overturned on a somewhat controversial call.
Catch, bro.
Yeah, we have to have a segment where we where we try and talk about what's a catch. Did you guys see the definition? Catch in the Raider game?
I don't think so.
I need to go back and find it. But yeah, there was a very close call on a catch that they called incomplete.
The DK Metcalf one?
And it would have. Yes, the DK.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did see that. I did see that.
The DK one. Like,
and that wasn't a catch. I don't think you can give that one a catch, but I think you can give fucking Hunter.
I don't know. It
catch.
was hard because his hand was under it. I don't know. Anyway, before we get off topic,
every team has those happen to them one way or the other. But I think the thing that kind of put the nail in the coffin
just a couple weeks ago.
Facts, but surprisingly poor clock management by Belichick late in that game. They start that drive and they just have no timeouts. Mac Jones panics, doesn't spike the ball, tries to throw it up again. They could have salvaged another drive. The Vikings offense sputtered in the end after that, game-winning drive. After that, the Vikings defense couldn't quite get enough first downs to put the Patriots out of it, but they burned too many timeouts. They got the ball back, and they couldn't finish the game, and we come away with a win, 33-26, put up a lot of points on a really good defense. If I remember correctly, we didn't surrender any sacks to Matt Judon until I don't think I don't think so. Surrendered any to him.
Yeah, I watch his sack count every week because I want Micah to catch up to him. But Steve, we said Ramondre Stevenson. I might have been wrong on the pick, but I was 3-1 on the week. And Ramondre Stevenson did get 112 total yards and most on the team.
Yep.
So
Ramondre's been killing it fantasy wise.
That was a good game, bro.
Yeah,
that was a good ass game. I had fun watching that game.
Tony, I think the Vikings need to start giving Kene Nwangu some more touches. He was electric at Iowa, so I think he kind of brings that another little different aspect. Madison is that, tough, hard-nosed runner. Get Kene's electrifying speed and agility out there would be kind of fun.
Could be fun. Who else, before we get into the next one, who else had a good play? Jalen Reagor, your guy.
Yeah,
Jalen Reagor.
That's my boy, nice baby. Catch. That's my boy.
I seen him out there. I'm hoping for him. Now that I know that that you guys kind of knew each other, I'm rooting for him. I hope he sees some more snaps.
Yeah, bro. I mean, when I seen him out there, I was like, at first I was like, that's crazy that he's out there at this point in the game because the game's not put away. So when I seen him out there, I was like, well, I mean, it's exciting for me to see him out there getting catches. But I was thinking in my head, like, why is he out there at the same time? So.
Well, I think that's kind of how they need to use him, though. Like, you target Jefferson a lot, and now you start using Jefferson as the decoy later in the games. And, Thielen is always your backup. He's your wide receiver, too. So once you get both of those two receivers going in a game that opens up that third and fourth receiver. And I think
Yeah.
that's just kind of how they need to focus on using him a little bit more.
And to get a little bit off topic, Jalen coming into his draft class was one of the fastest receivers in the class. He put on weight to be more NFL ready. He only ran a 4.4, but then he lost the weight again when he went for his next season, and he's back down to his college weight, if I'm not wrong. So he's one of the more electrifying and quick players out there. He ran a 4.2 speed before he put on the weight. So if he's back down to that speed, I'm surprised I don't at least try to use him a little bit more.
Yeah, for our listeners and our viewers, Jalen Reagor is from the same part of Texas as Pete. So Pete's a huge fan. He's a big friend. He supports and he tries to promote Jalen as much as he can. And speaking of Texas, a second Thanksgiving game was your Cowboys playing the Giants, which is, again, one of those late divisional games that has playoff implications. After you guys blew out the Vikings 40-3, everybody wanted to make sure that you guys weren't going to get lazy and let a Brian Dable-led Giants team that's energized, that's playing well for the majority of the season, come in and beat you guys. What did you think about that game, and what does that mean for you guys moving forward?
I don't think it was a great game. I think we did what we needed to do to win. Granted, it was our third game in 11 days. So, you can kind of see why they came out a little bit slow in the first half. They're playing at the NFL level, bro. 3 games in 11 days is kind of crazy. Luckily, we got that time off. We don't play until Sunday night against the Colts. We'll speak about that in a little bit. But, Dak threw 2 interceptions again. I'm on a roller coaster with Dak, bro. He played almost a flawless second half. He looked really good in the second half. Even with his game against, I believe, the Packers, he threw 2 as well.
Yeah.
I look past interceptions because most of these aren't his fault. Mike McCarthy even came out and said it in the post-game interview that he wants Dak to make that throw. It's just unfortunate the way it happened. You don't expect a backup safety to come in and then jump a receiver's route like that. For that safety to come out there and full Dak like that, it was a little shocking. I didn't expect it, and it kind of but the second half looked really good, bro. Zeke looked good. He's getting healthy. He's playing more snaps. He got to start again after coming off his injury. He's not fully healthy yet, but he's looking better. Our tight end group is they're good, bro. To be a young tight end group like that, they're really good. I know y'all probably seen the hurdle. So y'all seen the celebration. So I don't think it was a great game, but I was happy with it. They came out there, they put a team away that they should put away with how we've been playing and with our roster. I can't look as much as I want to talk shit about the Giants. I can't look past them though. They're a good team. They're playing good this year. They got a healthy Saquon. The receiving rooms kind of sucks, to be honest. It sucks to see that, but
it's trash.
I was happy about the game. I was watching it with the Packers fans, so I was hearing a lot of shit talk the first half, and it was kind of like, I was like, bro, we cannot come out here and do this. We cannot lose against these Giants. We lost the last 3 Thanksgiving games. So, that was in the back of my head the whole time in the first half. They came out in the second half, and they were firing on all cylinders. They looked good. So I was happy with it. Like I said, it wasn't a great game, though. Hopefully we can continue playing like that. We have a pretty healthy team right now. We'll see what happens this week against the Colts.
Yeah, Odell Beckham Jr. is visiting with the Giants on Thursday.
Yep.
So we'll see how that visit goes, and then obviously,
which
when
that sucks, man. I wish he would have visited us first because
you don't want to let him walk out.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly. If things go good with that visit and he doesn't sign, we cannot let him leave our facility without a contract. If they're serious about wanting him.
Yeah.
I think they are serious about it. I have never, in my time as a Cowboys fan, seen them go after a player so publicly like this. Every single player is talking about it. Every single player is tweeting them. I mean, Dak is sending him text messages. I mean, CD wants on Michael Gallup, Zeke. I mean, it's kind of crazy because I've never seen nothing like this. I mean, seen it a little bit with Von Miller because he's from right down the street. He's from Dallas. But other than Von Miller in the offseason, I've never seen this, bro. Especially Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Stephen Jones to all come out there and say they want him on the team. They want this throw on his helmet. It's kind of crazy to me. I feel like it's making me so excited. I feel like it might not happen, you know? Like they're building it up just to not sign him.
You know what? I think it kind of sucks for you guys because I think that's the reason he picked the Giants first. He knows you guys want him so bad that I'm pretty sure he knows that if he walks into that building with you guys, he's going to sign with you guys. So he's going to put the Giants first to see how that goes. And he's like, well, if they can give me an offer I can't refuse, then, I'm going to pick them because if I go to Dallas, I think he signs with you guys. If he goes to Dallas, he's going to sign with you guys.
And Michael Gallup is looking a lot better, bro. I mean, I think he's getting a little bit more confident coming off of that knee injury. So he's out there. He's high pointing the ball. I love the way he high points the ball. Nope, doesn't really body catch it. But every time he goes down, it makes me a little nervous because obviously we see repeat knee injuries, like with Odell, for instance, another knee injury after tearing it. So,
Tony, make a case for Odell going to the Giants.
No, I don't really want to. I think he's going to be a Cowboy. I don't see why he does go to the Giants, bro. Does he really want Daniel Jones to be his quarterback that badly? I feel like the whole going and visiting the Giants thing has more to do with the fact that he played there before. I think he likes the market there, the media attention he gets while he's there. But if he's looking at just the X's and O's, that's true. That's true. But if you look at the X and O's and you look at the ones and the zeros, I think he's just doing it to make the Cowboys sweat a little bit and give them a little bit more money. He's like, oh, well, I went to New York and they said this, that, and the other, but what speaks louder than that? The money. So I think he's just trying to get a bigger bag out of it. He's going to be a Cowboy. I think. If I'm proven wrong, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. No, I think everybody wants him to be a Cowboy at this point. I want him to be a Cowboy.
Yeah, and I was going to ask y'all with that. How do y'all feel that helps our team? Y'all aren't Cowboys fans. Y'all don't like the Cowboys. But look, especially you, Tony, as a Vikings fan in the NFC, Odell, if he signs with us, what does that make you feel like? Do you think it makes our team better, or do you think it's just we just added another receiver?
I think it makes the team better. I think that
I know we talk about it all the time. Do you think it makes us any scarier per se?
Not a whole lot, but definitely it moves the needle for sure a little bit. I don't think all of a sudden I'm like freaking out if I'm looking at the playoff bracket and we got you guys in the first or second round. Oh fuck, Odell's gonna get us, man. He's gonna gritty at the bank again. But I do say this. He's a good fit for them. I think he brings like a certain level of energy and skill, and man, he's just a Dallas type of player. You think of players in Dallas, you think of people that have big personalities, that have a lot to say, that you have big opinions on, and that's OBJ. I think it just fits him and the star. I just think he's the kind of player that
I will say
would play
one issue we have is we ain't got no good number for him, bro. Somebody's gonna have to give their shit up.
You know he'll pay for it. Jerry Jones will make sure he gets whatever number he needs.
Yeah, bro.
I think if your team wants him as bad as they do, one of those receivers will be like, nah, you could take the number. Well, I think it was Colin Cowherd. I was listening to his podcast, I think. I'm pretty sure it was him. And he was like, all you need from Odell is 2 or 3 plays. 2 or 3 plays down the stretch where he's going to have 2 or 3 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. But that's because you can bring him on a slant or on a fade route, and you can trust that you'll put it in his hands and he's going to make a play for you. Even if it's for a couple of times a game, you know you're getting an electric playmaker when he's on the field.
He's a really smart vet. So I mean, third downs, I think he'd be a huge part. And if he's not a huge part, they'll at least watch him whatever side of the field he's on. And then I think it just opens up that goal line offense a little more because, I mean, teams are going to know we're tempted to throw a jump ball to him or throw an out route to him. So, I mean, maybe to open up a little bit more for Zeke and Pollard down there.
Yeah. Well, moving on to another game before we get too caught up, because I'm sure these are the type of conversations we can have all day. The Ravens lost against the Jacksonville Jaguars in
That's
Florida.
why Blake not here.
Yeah, that's probably why he knew we were gonna give him shit. And look, Pete, a big thing here is giving each other our flowers because we're very opinionated. We feel very strongly about our opinions, and we think the way we do, and we try and conform with each other as best as possible. But you were the only one who had the Jaguars beating the Ravens. The rest of us all thought Lamar was going to have a big day going back home to Florida. Me included, I thought the same thing, but no. The Ravens made a trade for Roquan Smith to help them stop giving up leads late in the fourth quarter. And Blake's not here, so I can go in and not have to worry about him having to fucking argue me back on this shit. All right? This is my concern with them. All right? Is still at the end of the day, when it mattered, they couldn't win, especially after having 2 disappointing weeks already with their win against the Panthers. It just, I don't know. Anyway, the point of this is that Trevor Lawrence looked good. He drove down the field. He was composed. Zay Jones was coming up clutch for him, and they ended up going for 2 and getting the win. And we all say how Justin Tucker is the GOAT kicker, and I cannot tell you how bad I wanted him to make that field goal. And I'm sure a lot of people did. 67-yard try, and he came just about a yard and a half short. He wasn't far off, and he was upset he didn't make it. I think he thought the same thing. What did you guys make of that Jaguars win?
I think he could have put more on the ball, bro, but it's so far, the goalposts are so narrow. He just felt like, damn, I should have put more leg into it and just got the distance rather than the accuracy. But like I said, bro, I picked the Jags to win. And I would say mainly I picked the Jags to win just because of the Ravens' play recently. I mean, we've had these arguments in our power rankings with where the Ravens belong and how they were barely scraping by against some bad teams. And they finally lost one. They were on a 4-game winning streak, barely winning. They finally lost one. Trevor Lawrence was the difference maker. I mean, his receivers made some great plays. Yeah. But specifically about the 2-point conversion, Zay Jones ran an out route to the front of the end zone, and he didn't run a great route. He didn't get much separation, but the throw was where only he could catch it. If it was going to get caught, it was only where he could catch it. So Trevor Lawrence had a big day, bro. He went 29 for 37. He had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and obviously game-winning drive and 2-point conversion. I don't know if it's so much that, the Jags are good. I think it was more so the Ravens were playing bad. I think the Ravens will be fine. I hope this was a come-out game for Trevor Lawrence, though. I mean, seeing him throw the ball out there to Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, which 2 players you wouldn't think are having as good of seasons as they're having. But, I mean, he's making it work, bro. So, go Jags.
Yeah, Tony, you think Trevor Lawrence carries this type of success for the rest of the season?
Not necessarily, no. I think it's going to be more ups and downs for him this year. But I will say this. That was one of the cleanest game-winning drives and 2-point conversions I've ever seen. There wasn't some controversial call or called back, interception. There was no controversy to it. He just showed up on damn near every play, made a play, got them there, got the touchdown, then got the 2-point conversion. I mean, it was just clean. And when I saw that he was getting the ball back with the amount of time he had, I was like, damn, I think that he's going to win this. And he just went and did it. But I don't think this is more indicative of Trevor Lawrence's greatness as it is the Ravens. What's the best way to put it? Their inconsistencies. I really just don't think that this team plays as good regardless of who's on the team, who's playing from one week to the next. You could put the same players out on the same field against the same team, this Ravens team. Game 1 and game 2 look completely different. Half to half, they look completely different.
Yeah.
And I feel like the offense really just needs to admit that Lamar Jackson can't do everything and get him a real weapon. I think for as good as Mark Andrews is, a lot of what he does mostly comes down to, target shares and volume. He racks up a lot of stats, but I feel like he's not making as big of an impact on the field late in games as other better skill players out there are making. So I think the Ravens really need to evaluate themselves this summer.
And Blake's not here to argue it, so we can come out here and say this. Their weapons, other than Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, are just not there. I mean, look at a team like the Commanders, bro. They don't have as good of a quarterback, but their running back is better, or they're producing better, and their receivers are just doing better. So, I don't know, bro. I mean, they like Tony said, bro, they got to do something because.
Okay, but have I not been preaching this entire time?
You're getting your flowers.
Weapons.
You're getting your flowers, Steve.
They don't have the weapons. They're inconsistent. And look, I heard it best on another podcast that I was listening to this morning. It's the same fucking Ravens, bro. It's the same Ravens that we're going to get every year that we've gotten for the last 10 fucking years. They're good at running the ball. Lamar Jackson's a beast. They play good defense. They have no weapons, and they don't win in the playoffs. And that's my whole point with them not having enough weapons. Is it's the same Ravens. We know they're good. We know they're competitive. We know they're going to make the playoffs. Like, that's not a question. There's no doubt in that. But it's when are they going to take that next step? When are they going to go to that next level? I'm not saying it to trash them because I think they're trash. It's because I know they're good, but they still haven't peaked. They still haven't, gotten to the Super Bowl or even the AFC Championship game with Lamar since he's been in the league. And that's what I want. I want to see Lamar succeed. I want him to get his contract, but the Ravens need weapons. And that's been my whole point this whole time. But
yeah, and that's what I was saying. We could speak about it a little bit just because Blake wasn't here.
Exactly. I mean, Pete, I don't want to disrespect Blake enough to the point that he can't defend his team. But this is nothing we haven't said to him. That being said, my team, all right, right there, the Las Vegas Raiders, 2 wins in a row, baby. Sundays are fun again. An overtime win, walk off 2 games in a row against the Seahawks, a team that everyone here liked, that everyone here loves, that everyone had in that 9 to 12 range. All right, they're a good defense. They're good on offense. We thought it was a bad matchup. I was a shitty fan, and I picked the Raiders to lose, and I should have stuck to my gut and picked them to win because they came out and they won behind Josh Jacobs, who had 303 scrimmage yards, an 86-yard walk-off touchdown run. He had 2 total touchdowns. He had 6 catches for 74 yards. Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 74 yards. And I don't care what anybody says. Derek Carr threw that pick on the first offensive play to Quandre Diggs, and then Diggs gets a second interception early in the game as well, and he still bounces back, plays well, and leads the Raiders to their second victory. There's been a lot of talk about the locker room being broken down, that we don't trust McDaniels. But no, here we are. What did you guys think about this win? Because I think it was a great win, and I think this puts us in a good position of going against the Chargers this coming week.
I think that I think it's interesting that me and Pete were the two people to come out and say Raiders win this. And I said that they were about to go on a run. I think this is the perfect momentum builder that they need to go on a potential playoff run to get them there by the skin of their teeth, finally realize the potential of this offense. And I think that, unfortunately, the Chargers are a team that the Raiders could definitely sneak up on and give them a hard time. Two teams historically that have played each other very hard, especially over the last 5 to 10 years. So I think that you another game where you need to win. I know you got excited about 2. Let's try 3 now. 3 wins in a row, because you're going to need damn near 5, 6, 7 in a row to close out this season. But I think that, that they've been building up. You beat a good team. You guys have the secret sauce for beating the Broncos for some reason. So let's see what y'all can do against the Chargers. I don't want to hope that they do it, but part of me feels like that the Raiders are just going to keep this momentum going. They finally figured out something. They're undefeated since Derek Carr cried on national television. So I think they got to keep up.
Yes, sir.
They got to keep up.
That's my
They
quarterback.
got to do it for Derek, man. That's the motto right there. Do it for Derek.
Do you guys think if Josh Jacobs continues performing this way, let's say he finishes the year leading the league in rushing, there was a stat also that came out that Kelsey has 57 first downs this year. Tyreek Hill has 58. Josh Jacobs has 80. Do you guys think he can continue this? He can continue this and possibly win Offensive Player of the Year?
I mean, dude, I don't see it out of the realm of possibility at all, because he is balling, bro. I mean, I even seen the tweet. I mean, I know you've seen it, that he had tweaked his knee or something in the game, or his calf.
His calf.
And he still pulled off the 86-yard clutch touchdown run to win the game. If he can somehow get 200 scrimmage yards the rest of the season each game, I think he can take it from arguably any player. I mean, Tyreek Hill is up there at the top of the list, probably for Offensive Player of the Year, or Jalen Hurts, depending where you have him in MVP rankings or whatnot. But yeah, bro, if he continues this going on, it'd be for the latter half of the season for the most part that he's put up stupid numbers, bro. So I mean, it'd be cool to see it keep going, man. I mean, it'd take a little bit of pressure off of Derek Carr too, because we know, I mean, he's been getting hit pretty hard every game. He goes down, you think he's going to be hurt. But, I mean, he's got a lot of heart, bro. He comes back out there and he finishes the games. So I think they need to stick with Josh Jacobs. I mean, it was working at the beginning of the season. They went away from it. Went on a bad losing streak. They're coming back around to it, and now y'all have won 2 games in a row. So I don't know how it's that hard for the coaches to realize to give the ball to Josh Jacobs, whether it's through the air or on the ground. Just let him touch the ball more.
Yeah. Tony, not just as a player and what he brings to the field during the game, but what he brings to that locker room and what he means to the rest of the team. Do you think that the Raiders should just pay Josh Jacobs? It's no question he's going to get the bag this offseason for sure. But do you think the Raiders would be wise to just pay him or franchise tag him and try and make sure he stays? Or what do you think happens with the Josh Jacobs situation?
Unfortunately, I think that tagging him is the best idea, just because I'm not sure if you're going to see the same level of production next year. I think it'd be really hard to follow up how great of a season he's been having. But historically, the instant you pay your running back is the instant they get hurt or they start becoming washed. That's just the trend.
Yep.
It's just the way that it is. The conventional wisdom these days is don't pay your running backs, pay your receivers and your quarterbacks. So I think it's unfortunate for Josh Jacobs that he's probably going to either end up signing with a different team or getting tagged. But I think you just got to enjoy it while you have it. And if you can tag him, great. And see what he does next year. And if he's good next year, then you got another year out of him and let him go. Like, it sucks to say because players are people too. And I'm not trying to say that they don't deserve the money they're getting. But from the perspective of a team that wants to win, and when you consider what kind of sacrifices need to be made to win, unfortunately, it's those big contracts to running backs that usually don't end up paying out. But he deserves the money. He got the money, or he doesn't have he's going to get the money. And I think that it's still going to be good for the Raiders, whether he walks or stays another year.
Yeah, and I'm just a fan of Jacobs anyway, so I'm happy for him, and I hope he gets paid and he goes somewhere where he's going to be happy. Hopefully it's with us. I would love for him to stay, whether we pay him now or we tag him, but obviously I would love to see him stay with the Raiders. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with our game previews. But, yeah, we'll come back, and we'll see you guys in a second.
Jacobs with running room right up the middle. Jacobs is on his way. The Raiders are going to win this game.
Welcome back, everybody. Here we go. We're going to get started with Tony. Give us your game preview for your game against the Jets, which has, again, some playoff implications. The Jets are coming off a big win with Mike White. You guys are coming off a big win against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. What do you expect from this game? And give us a score that you think is going to reflect this Mike White versus Kirk Cousins battle.
Sure. So here's what I think about this game real briefly here. I think that we can finally see a multiple score win for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think they're going to sweat this game out too much. I think that Mike White Game 2 of the season is never going to be the same as Mike White Game 1 of the season. We saw that last year when he had that kind of miracle game stepping into the starter role. But we got to remember who he was playing last week. He was playing the Chicago Bears, who since some of the big trades they've been making on the defensive side, they got rid of two of their best players, two of their captains. They've been the last ranked defense in scoring since those trades. So I think it was kind of handed to Mike White on a silver platter. I think Zach Wilson could have potentially won that game. Not in the way that Mike White did, but it was set up for him to win.
I don't know. He hasn't done it at all.
Whoa.
How many points did the Bears score?
2.7 inches per play.
I'm pretty sure I said it in the very first podcast. Zach Wilson is trash. All right.
And the Bears defense is trash. But that I'm not trying to talk about Zach Wilson anymore. We got to see Mike White. We got to see the playmakers they have on offense. I think they'll be able to score 2 touchdowns against us and probably kick a field goal. But I think I've got the Vikings winning this one handedly, 28-17, off the strength of their offense and team cohesion. The Vikings have arguably the best chemistry in the league right now. Everybody over there is having fun. We didn't get too down after the big loss to Dallas, and we came in and we played arguably a more difficult opponent on Thanksgiving. That Patriots defense is very stout. And I think that the Jets don't really have one side of the ball where they kill you, but they do play well on both sides of the ball. And I just think that it's going to be another good game for the Vikings. Look for their other playmakers to have big games because Sauce Gardner is going to keep doing his thing. I think Justin Jefferson might have a little bit of trouble with him. But this is a prove-it game.
The matchup we all want to see.
Yeah, it's a prove-it game for Sauce. He's arguably the best up-and-coming cornerback right now. And you've got Justin Jefferson, who was hands down the best up and coming wide receiver in the league right now.
Without a doubt.
So it'll be a fun matchup. I'm sure we'll see lots of trash talking. And I'm hoping Justin Jefferson lights his ass up, but I got to be realistic. I think that Sauce Gardner is going to do a pretty good job of keeping him from going off too crazy, but we'll see what the rest of the defense can do against Dalvin Cook, TJ Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen, and afternoon Kirk.
Pete?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick, bro. I agree with what Tony said when it comes to Mike White. I mean, as much as I want to go out, I want to see him go out there and light it up with Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. I just don't know if it'll happen. Vikings are playing good. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, though. I don't think Mike White will have a huge game, but I think he will be able to move the ball just because he utilizes his receivers as they should be used. So I think I'm going to give it to the Vikings something close like 24-21.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting game. There's a lot of good matchups. I want to see, obviously, Sauce versus JJ. You have Garrett Wilson versus Patrick Peterson. You have Mike White against that pass rush, which I think, is going to be the difference maker there. I think because of those kind of key matchups, it's going to be a closer game. It's not going to be a super explosive game, I don't think. But I think I have the Vikings 24-20 winning this game as well against the
I am
Jets.
going to give a little bit of a hot take here real quick because I've been doing this here recently. I do think Jay Jettis has a huge game, though. I think he's going to at least get 100 receiving yards and a touchdown in this game. And I think it's just going to make Diggs look better because Diggs held him down.
I think he has a good game. I don't know if he breaks 100. Like I said, I think it'll be a slower paced game, but I project him to have something like 6 catches for 72 yards at a touchdown. So, not bad, but nothing crazy.
I'm giving him that 100-yard game. Sauce Gardner had a little bit of issues with Chase. Sauce Gardner had a little bit of issues with Chase Claypool, and he was holding him arguably every time. So, Jettis is better than Claypool by a fucking mile. So,
we're gonna see some gritting for sure.
Pete, somebody will. Pete, your Cowboys, speaking of Diggs, are going to face the Colts on Sunday Night Football. Diggs is going to be covering what I'm assuming would be Michael Pittman Jr. Your defense is going to be facing Matt Ryan and Jonathan Taylor, who, again, had another close game in which they lost to the Steelers. They're playing better under Jeff Saturday, better than I think any of us expected. But you saw on that last drive or two his inability to game manage the game correctly. What do you expect from your Cowboys on primetime on Sunday night? And do you let Zeke and Tony Pollard lead the way?
I think you just do whatever the offense needs to do to click, bro. If there's stuff in the run and you throw the ball, if they're running a man defense or something like that and we just can't get open because our receivers are known for not getting too much separation, then you run the ball. I think either way it works out, we'll win the game. They got to go out there and stop Justin Jefferson. They got to go out there and stop Jonathan Taylor, bro. I mean, we cannot let him run all over us. We've gotten better at rush defense. I'd like to stuff the run and force Matt Ryan to throw it. I mean, he's not mobile at all. They do have a pretty good offensive line, but I mean, we've seen what our defensive line can do. So I think we keep him in the pocket, and if he rolls out, he's not outrunning anybody. So I think the defense side of the ball will be. I think it'll be a great game for our defense as long as they can stop Jonathan Taylor. But I'm probably going to go with a score of roughly. Give me something like 31-14.
I like it.
I do think the Colts will come out and probably score on their first drive, though. I think they're going to stick to the run, and Jonathan Taylor probably come out there and get a touchdown.
Getting a tiny bit off topic here. but I love asking you guys these type of questions. You need your quarterback to scramble 10 yards for the first down. Who are you choosing? Matt Ryan or Phillip Rivers?
I'm going Matt Ryan, bro.
I got Matt Ryan on this
That's
one
fucking
too,
horrible
bro.
question. That's a horrible question.
Listen,
No,
how about this,
look,
bro? Matt Ryan or Tom Brady?
let me tell you why Phillip Rivers.
Oh, no.
Look, let me tell you
I
why
would take
Phillip
Tom Brady in
Rivers.
that. I think I'd take Tom Brady in that one.
Look,
I'd like to see Tom Brady slide and break his knee brace again, bro. He does that every time he runs.
Oh, fuck.
I'm gonna tell you why Phillip Rivers is the choice here. All right. How many kids does this man got?
Oh.
Man, because he chasing him around the house or something.
You know this man got stamina because he be pumping them. He be working. He got like 20
Bro.
kids, so he got the
He
stamina.
got enough to
of a
start his
fucking
own
gazelle.
football team, bro.
Might be slow, but Tony, give us your score prediction for Cowboys versus the Colts.
Man, part of me just wants to be a hater and say the Colts, but part of me wants to die on my hill about saying Jeff Saturday is a fucking joke as a coach. So I'm like, standing my ground. I'm gonna ride with the Cowboys on this one. Give me the Cowboys 24-14. Nice little 10-point W for them. Probably give up a couple touchdowns to Matt Ryan and some dumb luck. But I mean, if the Cowboys lose this game, I feel like we'd all be shocked and Pete would be having a bad day.
Hey, at least we're coming off of a 10 game. I mean, a 10-day off streak, and they played Monday Night Football, and they got to travel to Dallas. So we better not lose this fucking game.
Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a trap game. I think the Colts have been playing well. They've been playing better. But the Cowboys, I think, are just better in basically every facet of the game. I think the Cowboys win this game pretty easily. 24-13, 27-13 maybe. I think the Colts still play a decent game, but I think the discrepancy between a good team and a bad team is pretty obvious in this matchup. Moving on to our next game, the Ravens are playing the Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos are just awful. I don't know how Nathaniel Hackett hasn't been fired yet. You couldn't convince me that he shouldn't. You couldn't convince me that he shouldn't be fired. The Ravens are obviously struggling, a team that we still can't quite decide if they're a top 5 team or not. And as of lately, they haven't been playing like it. Tony, go ahead and get us started. What do you see from this Ravens Broncos game? Do you think Lamar needs a big game against a good defense here and kind of like prove those critics that relax, we're okay? It's just been a tough few weeks.
If by those critics you mean you, I think Lamar definitely needs a big game coming in here. But I that's not what I think's gonna happen. I do think they'll exercise the demons and get a win here, another ugly win. Because the Broncos play some really good defense here, and they muck up other teams' offensive game plans, and then, Russell Wilson just can't manage to get the team to score more than 18 points, which is all they would need to be to win how many games now? So I think that the Ravens are going to be the Ravens.
I think they'll only have one loss.
Yeah. Ravens are going to be the Ravens, and the Broncos are going to be the Broncos. And I think the Ravens will get a win here. And Blake will be on this show next week talking hella shit because we talked mad shit while he wasn't here. But he hasn't replied to none of our texts. So where's he at? So the Ravens should win this game. It would be really funny if they lost.
Yeah. Pete, who do you got in this?
I'm gonna go with the Ravens, bro. I just can't pick. I can't pick the Broncos. I mean, maybe if the Broncos have a big game this week, maybe we can pick them for an upset the following week. I don't know who they play, but they're not beating the Ravens. So when it comes to the score, bro, I'm gonna have to give it something. I think, like Tony said, I think they're gonna disrupt Lamar's game plan, the team's game plan in general. Gus Edwards is back this week, I believe. I don't know if he played last week. I think he plays this week. So I'm gonna give the Ravens something, like I said, low scoring game, probably something like 17-10.
Yeah, I think Lamar has a good game. I don't think they really have an amazing game through the air. I don't think Lamar's going to pass for over 200 yards. But I think they're going to run the ball well. I think they're going to win pretty easily. I think they end up winning, let's say something like 28-13. I think the Broncos continue to struggle, and I hope they continue to struggle, and Hackett needs to be fired, and they suck anyway. So moving on to another AFC West team, actually an AFC West matchup that could affect both teams' playoff chances. The Raiders, coming off 2 wins in a row, are at home against the Los Angeles Chargers, coming off their win against Arizona. Whoops. Tony, you're a Charger fan as well. You guys are sitting there at 6-5 in second place in the division. At this point, obviously the Chiefs have that number 1 spot locked down. So we're fighting for a wild card spot. What do you think about this game? And I had 3 matchups. Josh Jacobs and your guys' god-awful run defense that you're giving up the most yards per carry, I think, in NFL history right now. Devontae Adams and then Khalil Mack against our O-line. Are those kind of those 3 key things you're looking at? Obviously outside of Justin Herbert on offense, who should have a field day. What do you think about this matchup?
I think it really depends about the health of the Los Angeles Chargers. If they can get Mike Williams up and Keenan Allen gets, his legs underneath them, and the offense is finally able to be as dangerous as it was supposed to be going into the season, then I think that the Raiders might have a rough time, covering all these different weapons, and they're going to need Max Crosby to get home on Herbert almost every play to have a chance at slowing them down, especially with how good Austin Eckler can be. I've watched a lot of Chargers-Raiders games, and I know that there's no real way of predicting them, but the best players on both teams usually step up in big plays. I feel like Max Crosby has a personal vendetta against the Chargers. He loves to rack up sacks against them. I think this game matters for both teams a lot. And the last time we saw a game like that mattered to both teams a lot was the final week game between these 2 teams that almost ended in a tie. Had a crazy ending to it. Ended up with the Raiders kicking a field goal and sending the Chargers packing for the rest of the year. I don't think the same thing's going to happen, though. I think that the Chargers are going to get the best of the Raiders this time. A little bit of a revenge game. Finish the season sweep. Just because I think that the Chargers are finally starting to get a little bit more healthy. I think they're finally starting to click on offense, not make as many mistakes. There's no real fixing the run defense, and I think Josh Jacobs is going to be a nightmare for the Chargers. I think he might have another 200-yard game from scrimmage here, just because of he's been causing problems for the Chargers his whole career. So the Raiders play hard when they play the Chargers, but the Chargers also play really hard when they play the Raiders. It's some of the most entertaining football. So no matter who wins, it's going to be a fun game. You're going to get to see a lot of the team's best players make plays. Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, hopefully Mike Williams, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Eckler, Khalil Mack, Max Crosby. A lot of big names in this game and a lot at stake. I think the Raiders you have to view this as a must-win. And the Chargers, do they really want to be 12 games in after going all in and being 500? That would be a rough look for them. And they'd have a lot of wood to chop to, they don't even have a playoff spot held down. They're chasing the Patriots right now for that last wild card spot. A win would be big for them going into this. And if the Raiders even want to sniff the playoffs this year, they got to keep the win streak going.
Give us a score.
Let me give you a score here. 28-25 Chargers.
I like it. Pete?
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, bro. Like Tony said, I mean, these Chargers are getting healthy. I think y'all have a good game, but I think the Chargers pull it out in a pretty high-scoring game, 31-28 Chargers.
I'm with you guys that I think it's going to be a close game as well. Unfortunately, I cannot give the Chargers their flowers in the sense that there were Super Bowl contenders before the season started. Justin Herbert was all the rave that he's, the next coming of Jesus Christ himself. And don't get me wrong, I love Justin Herbert, and I think he's going to do great against the Raiders because he's just good against the Raiders. But the Chargers continue to underperform for me. And I'm trying not to say that biasly as a Raiders fan, obviously, but they continue to underperform. They're just underwhelming to me for the most part. And I think there's no hiding the hatred between these two teams. They do not like each other. Both teams like to come after each other. Joey Bosa has a thing for Derek Carr, and Max Crosby has a thing for Justin Herbert. I think it's a close game. I think it's a shootout. I think Josh Jacobs runs for over 100 yards. I think Derek Carr has another 270-yard passing game and 2 touchdowns. Devontae has over 100 yards and a touchdown. But I think it's going to come down to, just like every other Charger-Raider game, final drive of the game, whether it's the Raiders or the Chargers, just like it was for that matchup leading to the playoffs and the first game of this season. I have the Raiders winning 27-24. Fuck the Chargers. That being said, we're going to take our last little break before we jump into our power rankings and give you guys our thoughts on that. We'll see you guys in a few.
Cousins back to the air as he throws downfield. It's hanging in the air, but it's caught by Jefferson again.
Welcome back, everybody. Getting ready to finish our last segment of the episode, our power rankings, our favorite and everybody's favorite part of the show. As always, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. At 32, we have the Texans, who continue to lose. 31, the Broncos, who should be 32 because they suck. The Panthers are at 30. Saints are at 29. Rams are at 28, but the way their season is going with Stafford injured, Cooper injured, Aaron Donald injured now, I don't see that team doing anything the rest of this season. They might as well just shut it down and get healthy for next year. We have the Cardinals at 27, the Bears at 26, Colts at 25, Raiders are jumping up to 24 after the 2-win streak, Steelers at 23, Jaguars 22, Browns at 21, Falcons at 20, Packers at 19. We don't know what's going to happen there with Rodgers and Love. Lions at 18, Patriots 17, Bucks at 16 after another disappointing loss. I feel like every other week we're saying that. They come up with the big win, and then they have a disappointing loss. Now getting to the top 15 teams, the Giants at 15, they're just a team that I think is on the outside looking in from here on out. They have a tough schedule, having to face all the NFC East teams again, but I think that's where they should be sitting, is at 15. We have the Chargers at 14, Seahawks at 13 after their loss to the Raiders. They dropped down a little bit. Commanders at 12, who are playing extremely well. I think they're a team that if they can sneak out a win this week, they might be a top 10 team, depending on how some of those bottom 7 to 10 teams do. Jets are at 11. after that Mike White win. They have that matchup against the Vikings, and that was one of those things. Is there's a lot of key matchups this week: Commanders, Giants, Jets, Vikings, that are going to affect our power rankings a lot. I feel like this coming week. At number 10, we had the Titans, who lost to the Cincinnati Bengals this past weekend. The Bengals are at 9, who have won 4 in a row. They beat the Titans, who are one of our top 10 teams, without Joe Mixon, without Jamar Chase. They're a team that I have higher on my own personal rankings because I just believe that their recent success has been pretty dominant. But we have the Bengals at 9, the 49ers at 8, which was another hot discussion because I believe they're a top 5 team. You guys weren't quite ready to put them there yet, but they have another playoff matchup against the Dolphins. So this week is really going to help determine like which teams are really those top 5, top 7 teams, those contending teams, and which teams obviously can't quite measure up and compete against the better ones. The Ravens at 7, who to me, if you're looking at the last 2 or 3 weeks, have looked like the worst team out of those top 10 teams. That's just my personal opinion. We have the Bills at 6. We have the Vikings at number 5. Tony, they have that matchup against the Jets. What do you think about your Vikings at 5? And is that kind of that spot that we feel like they should be at? Because personally, I feel like that number 5 spot is pretty good for them. They're dangerous. I feel like they can be the top 5 team, but they're not consistent enough for me quite yet.
Yeah, I think the fact that the Vikings' 2 big losses, and they were both pretty big, were against other top 5 teams here. Now, they did have an impressive win against another top 5 team. They did face the Dolphins, who we do have in our top 5 as well. That being said, it was without Tua. Not as good of a test for the Vikings, but they've had quality wins. They've had some disappointing losses, but with a 9-2 record, I feel like keeping them in the top 5 is probably where they're going to be come the end of the season. And, they could potentially lock up their division here with a win and a Lions loss. If that goes the way it goes, they'd be the first team in the league to clinch their division. Very impressive from a team that wasn't in playoff talks last year, that was losing a lot of these close games. I think just the fact that they've been able to come out and win close games, that's when they're the best. And I think they've earned their number 5 spot.
Yeah, like you said, the Dolphins are sitting there at number 4, and they play the 49ers, who I had on my rankings, I had the 49ers at 4, the Dolphins at 5. Mike McDaniels obviously is playing his mentor in Kyle Shanahan from the 49ers. These teams know each other very well. Jeff Wilson, who used to be on the 49ers, Mostert, who used to be on the 49ers, he's on the Dolphins. What do you guys expect of this star-powered matchup with Tua, Tyreek, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Javon Holland? What do you guys make of this matchup, and who do you think wins this? Because personally, I think the 49ers, like I said, to me, they got that scary factor. Their defense, they haven't given up any points in the second half of games in the last 4 games. Their offense can win any way, shape, or form. Pete, what do you think of the 49ers and the Dolphins?
They only put up 13 points against the Saints, and they've played against some bad offenses the past 4 games. Granted, it's still impressive they haven't allowed any points in the second half. They played against some bad offenses. They're about to go up against one of the hottest teams in the NFL in general. I mean, they're 8-0 with Tua. They're rolling right now. So I got the Fins winning by at least at minimum 10 points.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
think the Niners can keep. I don't think the Niners can
Damn.
keep up with them. I just think the Fins are going to go out there and they're going to play good football. And I know the 49ers have a great defense, bro. I just see the Fins is blowing past it and just going out there and playing the football that they play. I don't think Tua is going to get rattled in this game. I just have high hopes for the Dolphins this game. We'll see how it plays out. It could be a hot take. We'll see. I just got the Fins going out there and winning by 10.
Tony, what do you think of this matchup?
I agree with the result, but maybe not the score here. I like the matchup that they have with their receivers versus the 49ers secondary. You've seen a Kyle Shanahan-led defense here not be able to contain Tyreek Hill before. And I think that we'll see it again. Tyreek Hill is a top 2, top 3 receiver in this league right now. And I don't think that there's many cornerbacks that can cover him, even with safety help on top. And Tua's a smart quarterback. They got a smart coach down there in Miami. He did work under Kyle Shanahan. I think he knows some of his tricks. That being said, I don't think that this 49ers team is to be taken lightly. I think they still have a prove-it game that they need to get under their belts before I'm ready to start talking about putting them in the top 5. And I think that this is the perfect opportunity for them to prove me wrong. But I think that the Dolphins are legit. I think they've got a really scary offense with a good defense to boot. And I think that they will put up more points than the 49ers will. I've got them winning this game 24-20.
I've talked some shit about Tua, man, saying, like, I guess the arm strength isn't there. The accuracy is obviously there in the mid-range game. But I think I'm starting to put that to rest, bro. I mean, he's just proved me wrong week in and week out since he's been healthy. So this is a big prove-it game for him as well. I know my opinion doesn't matter to anybody, but in my eyes, it'll change my the way I feel about him a lot if he can go out there and beat this defense.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm big on the 49ers, but just hearing you guys kind of talk and everything I've been seeing today, I don't know why it makes me want to pick the Dolphins. But I'm going to stay strong. All right. I think the 49ers win this game 17-16. I think the 49ers have 2 touchdowns and a field goal. And I believe that the Dolphins have 2 touchdowns and a field goal. But I believe the Dolphins miss a PAT, and that's going to be the difference. I believe it's going to be a one-point game.
All right. I'll ask you this, Steve.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the next one real quick. Christian McCaffrey is limited in practice. They said he felt something in his knee. If for some reason he doesn't go or he's playing limited snaps, does that change your outcome?
Yes.
Okay.
And mainly for the fact because of the Elijah Mitchell injury.
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell's hurt, and obviously they don't got Jeff Wilson back there
exactly.
no more.
Because if Mitchell was there and McCaffrey doesn't play or he's playing a limited role, I would still pick the 49ers. But not having Mitchell at all and then McCaffrey either having to play somewhat gingerly or be in some type of a limited role or not playing at all, I do think the Dolphins offense is for real. I will give them that. I'm with you guys. I've been a Tua hater. Not necessarily hater because I want him to do good. I just haven't seen anything that told me he was going to be as good as he's been this season.
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought he was bad. I mean, I like him as a player, especially what he's gone through, injury in Alabama, blah, 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 and all that. But I just want him to this will change my opinion on him, bro. I mean, you can't deny what he's done this year. Yeah,
no, he's been playing great, and he's in that MVP conversation. Another quarterback in the MVP conversation who has been playing better than a lot of people thought he would is Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. I personally think they're our number two team, but we have them sitting at 3, right behind the Cowboys. Pete, your Cowboys are playing well. It looks like they're starting to figure things out. They just have to execute a little bit better at times. And if they can get someone like OBJ, they can really solidify that number 2 spot and potentially win the division for you guys. how do you feel about your team so far at the number 2 spot? And we're creeping up a little bit more, getting a little bit closer into that matchup with that Eagles deep in December.
Yeah, bro. I think the Eagles are more than deserving to be above us in our power rankings at 2 and us be at 3. But this is where I differentiate the two. We did lose to the Packers, but we didn't play bad that game. We put up the points. We just couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers. Since Dak has been back, I mean, we've been playing good. We've been playing really good. The Eagles did have a good game this past week, but they did have 2 games. One they lost and one where they just played bad for a couple of games in a row. I think that's the only difference I have. Say we come out here and we barely beat the Colts and they go out there and they can beat the Titans. Whether it's a close game or not, if we lose to the Colts and they beat the Titans, or we have a close game with the Colts and they beat the Titans, I think they jump us in my eyes, to be honest. I think they're both neck and neck. Obviously, they only have one loss. They have the division lead. But over the past, say, 4 or 5 weeks, I think we've been playing better overall football than them.
Yeah. Tony, as your team obviously played them just a couple of weeks ago, how do you feel about the Cowboys? Who are you more worried about in January come playoffs? Because your team lost to both the Eagles and the Cowboys. So who would you not want to play? And who would you feel a little bit more, like we use that term, less scared of? Who's the scarier team to you?
Neither of them. We've seen them once. We'll make the adjustments, and we'll win the second time.
Take a lot of adjustments to make up 37 points, my boy.
We're going to beat you 40-3 in the playoffs, boy. We're going to get our get back.
I don't think you believe that. Well, okay, well, let me ask you this. Who do you think is the better team between the Cowboys and the Eagles? If they played next weekend, who would you pick?
I think the Cowboys would beat the Eagles the second time
Neither.
around. It'll be a tie. I think that the Cowboys will probably win it. Yeah, the Cowboys will probably win it. I think that they've seen what the Eagles can do. The Eagles didn't get a chance to see what the Cowboys could do the last time that they played. And I think that the Cowboys, the way they play, I think that the way that they play on offense could be a bit of an issue for the Eagles. The Eagles' strong suit is really their secondary, and they have good pass rushers. But the way the Cowboys play is they can beat you so many creative ways on the ground or with screen passes, just keeping it to like these more contained, smaller plays instead of trying to go for big plays. Those smaller plays turn into big plays for them. And I think that that's something that the Eagles have really kind of had a hard time closing down on, is shorter intermediate passes and continued, rush attempts against their front seven there. I think that that's kind of where they start to lose games. They're pretty good against, getting beat over the top with big plays. They kind of contain that. So I would take the Cowboys over them right now.
Yeah. No, I think the Cowboys are starting to figure out their offense. And I feel like the Cowboys have a higher ceiling than the Eagles do. But, yeah, I don't know. If they play tomorrow, I don't know who I would pick, to be honest. I think it's just such a close matchup. Whoever turns the ball over the least amount of times probably wins that game. You could probably flip a coin and it'd be pretty even on who wins, if they play 10 times. One team I think that, I feel is a little bit of forgotten that we didn't really touch on sitting at number 6 was the Bills. I still think they're the second best AFC team. And I know they haven't been playing as well as of recent, and they play much better at home than they do on the road. But I feel like the Bills are in a perfect spot right now where they've been on this kind of like slow little roll. And now they can kind of remind everybody again come December and January, like, hey, we're that team that was blowing everybody out. Like, you got to pay attention to us again. And I feel like everyone's kind of like forgetting about them a little bit. Do you guys think the Bills can become that again?
Yeah, with their roster, bro, I mean, they have the capability. I mean, the biggest issue with them, bro, is they got to run into the Chiefs at some point in the playoffs if they want to make it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that has proven to be an issue for Josh Allen. They're a good team, though. I mean, you have them and the Dolphins. You can have them neck and neck, bro. I mean, they both have high-powered offenses. I think the quarterback play down the stretch would be – I'd give my side to the Bills just because Josh Allen.
For sure.
Josh Allen. Obviously, I know what Tua has done this year. I just had to – but, I mean, I think the Bills can be dangerous, bro. I mean, maybe this is the year where, like you said, maybe they get hot at the end of the season when it matters, and they can come out there and they can beat the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah, you keep mentioning the Chiefs, and that's our number one team in the power rankings. I don't think any of us really doubt that they belong there. Again, and I think they're going to stay there. They're just the most complete team. They're the most dangerous team. They're the scariest team. They have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who are probably the best duo in the NFL right now. Tony.
They got a fire-ass matchup this week, bro. They got the Bengals at home.
The Bengals.
In Cincinnati.
And you know what? I actually am going to bet on the Bengals. I would pick the Bengals to win that game. I think Joe Burrow. I think the Chiefs have been on a good run, but I think Joe Burrow is going to make that statement. I think the Bengals are better than the Ravens, and I think Jamar Chase is going to have a coming out party. He's going to score 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon might be back as well again. Tony, what do you make of that matchup, and why are the Chiefs standing strong at number 1 with other teams wanting to come in and beat them? And don't forget, Joe Burrow has had success against the Chiefs. I believe he's 2-0 against them.
Yeah, I don't think he'll fool them 3 times though. I just think that the Chiefs, they've been there, they've done that. They're the team with the most championship pedigree in the league right now. And there's a reason for that. And, despite Joe Burrow being 2-0 against them, he kind of made a fool of them last year, made us forget, made us not believe. But, I be in the barbershops hearing, Pat Mahomes ain't this, Pat Mahomes ain't that. Shut the fuck up. Pat Mahomes is him. He's the best quarterback in the league right now. He's going to win the MVP again. And,
he's on pace to break the NFL record for passing yards in the season, bro.
Quietly, like nobody's fucking talking about it.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
And the crazy thing is...
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are just...
This is the worst skill position group he's ever had, bro. Like, he's still got Kelce, but they've had questions at running back, questions at wide receiver. Dude's coming in and out of the roster, and he's doing it all with Travis Kelce duct tape in his arm, and they're still the best team in the league. He's scary.
Pacheco's
Patrick
low-key
Mahomes
nice.
He's low-key nice, but would you have been like, oh, yeah, dude, Pacheco is some generational running back talent? No, bro. He just kind of showed up midway through the season, all 5'4" of him.
Yeah, I think you still put Kareem Hunt back there, bro. They're nicer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Kareem Hunt's nice.
Top 10 kicker for
but,
sure.
We talked about our power rankings and how Chiefs are just undisputed at 1. I want to ask y'all a question. Who y'all have winning this game Monday night, bro? It's a big game for both teams. I mean, the Bucks versus the Saints. Who do y'all have winning that game? I know it seems like a bad game, bro, but
It
in a
seems like a
shitty
trap
division,
game to pick this. It seems like a trap game, and you should pick the Saints. But
bro, if the Saints win, every team in that division or 3 teams are gonna have 5 wins, bro. They're gonna all be tied for first place.
I'll say this: I think the Bucks are going to win. But if the Bucks lose, they're not making the playoffs. And I said that when they lost to the Ravens, and they've continued to struggle since then. But I think, if you lose to the Saints this week on Monday night, I don't know if you beating anybody in the playoffs, even if you do make it.
I mean,
Man, it's
if I'm not mistaken, bro, the Saints could jump into the number one in that division if they beat the Bucks and Pittsburgh loses. I mean, Pittsburgh beats Atlanta.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They'll be 1-1 against the Bucks because Brady finally beat them in the regular season. But I think the Saints would take over that number one seed. And the division lead, I should say.
Man, give me the Saints, bro.
Yeah,
I think they'll win.
Saints.
That's what I'm saying. I'm taking the Saints this week, bro.
Give me the
You
Saints,
tripping.
bro. Nah, bro. I feel like Jameis Winston's gonna get his job back halfway through the game, and they're gonna be eating a W.
You're about to eat them dubs against the Bucks.
Yeah, bro. It's gonna be the goofiest game ever. Alvin Kamara is gonna like fumble on the goal line, but dive on it for a touchdown, and that's gonna be the difference right
Bro.
there. Some goofy ass play.
Bro, they
like
really
that.
could beat the Niners, bro. They really could have beat them, but Alvin Kamara fumbled fucking twice and once in the goal line. Like that cannot happen against the Niners team, bro. They were there. They were within distance to beat them.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be an interesting matchup, but I think that's just one of the many interesting matchups that we're going to see this coming week that we've talked about it. That pretty much wraps up the power rankings. Hopefully Blake is able to join us next week and defend himself against his Ravens. Hopefully the Raiders come out with the win against the Chargers, and the Vikings can come out with the big win against the Jets, and the Cowboys can come out with the win over the – are you guys playing the Colts?
The Colts.
So
Have all four of
Bro, we
us
got the
gotten a
toughest
dub
schedule in
same
the
week
league
yet?
these next 3 games. Come on now.
have all what?
Have all four of us gotten a dub on the same week? No.
I
I
don't know.
don't think so, bro.
I don't think so.
No.
It
It
might
should have
be
been this
Gotta
week,
make
but
it
the
happen.
Ravens fucking sold.
even the Raiders won, Blake. The Raiders.
Bro, it's crazy because the audience doesn't know that Blake was fighting for his life about the Ravens before we hopped on air the last episode.
Yeah.
There's like 20 minutes of Blake fighting for his life. And y'all some demons convincing me to defend your teams in this shit, bro. Y'all get me on y'all get so passionate. I hop on the bandwagon. I'm like, yeah, bro, the Ravens, they got the same level of weapons as the Bills, bro. Just like lying through my teeth. Oh, we love you, Blake.
Man. That being said, guys, we want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate it. And we hope you guys enjoy this coming week's games, and we'll see you next week.